If these BookTok books are so good, why do so many of them fall apart the second you think too hard? I mean, the minute you activate any brain cell, the plots just dissipate. Poof. Hi, welcome back. My name is Anna, and if you like reading vlogs, book review, the occasional controversial bookish take, don't forget to subscribe, especially since it is free 99. And if you guys manage to get this video to 1,000 likes, I will read BookTok most popular books so you won't have to. And using all the media literacy I can muster, I'll be sure to, give you guys like an in-depth book review of the books that I read. There are just a few books, however, which you're really gonna have to like this video up that I have deemed unreadable ever since I saw them on BookTok. But if you guys, come out and you like this video and you let me know that you want me to do this, then I most definitely will put my biases aside and do that for you. So don't forget to subscribe and like. And I do want to set the tone for this video because we live in a society where anything you say online is just taken personal. We don't live in a society where feedback is freely given or freely taken. I say something, you take offense, and then you go make a video, and then I make a video. And it's this constant cycle. So I do want to set the tone of this video. This is not a you're not allowed to like things kind of video because who the hell am I to tell you what to like? I'm just a goofy bookworm on the internet, if you got what I'm saying. This is let's talk about book talk versus reality, quality over hype type of video. It's just whether or not, you know, book talk is ruining reading for everybody. Now, there are multiple hot takes, and there are books that we really do have to question whether or not they are really, really good. Because, I've read a few books that have me thinking that if I could go back in time, I would not have read them. And I'm sure that all of us have had those books where we're like, oh, we shouldn't have read those books. So I just want to start off high. As a member of the book community, it would be biased of me not to mention all the good things that have come out of book talk. Reading has become fun again. People that have never liked reading in high school, never liked reading as a kid. Book talk has been that place where they're able to fall in love with books again and the reading of books. Not just, and then there are also people who have been reading just for the sake of, it was just self-help books or cookbooks or, manual books that teach you about life. This has made reading fun again. And then there are books that Book Talk has revived, especially like there's a lot of banned books that through TikTok were able to, or Book Talk rather, were able to, bring those book back. And I just have to say that that has been really fun. So Book Talk does have its good sides. It's like the yin and the yang. Nothing's ever really bad or ever really good. It's just the balance of the scales, I guess. And so it has also created this community, an excitement where people are now excited for new releases, even though it's the same, all these releases and these new movies coming out. It's always the same set of authors, but still excitement. And like I said, many people have come back to reading because of Book Talk, but the popularity and quality does not mean the same thing despite popular beliefs, if you kind of catch my drift, you know. So when people criticize Book Talk, we're not saying, or I'm not saying you're not allowed to like fun things or books or read purely for entertainment or escapism, because one of my biggest reasons for reading is escapism. It's one of the reasons why I primarily read fantasy. I'm not really a big romance person. And also, I'm not a big romance person because I blame all those Harley Quinn books I read as a kid. If you know, you know. But I'm just saying that when we talk about, book talk ruining books, we're really pointing out something a whole lot greater. It's a whole growing lack of media literacy in how books are being discussed. It's like people coming online saying, hey, I like this book, and it's just that's it. There's no discussion as to what you like about this book. And so I'm left to either read this book because I like you and you like this book, or read this book because you like this book. And there isn't really that, critical analytics, analyst, analyzing going on. It's like I did literature in school. I really did love literature. It's one of the reasons why I love poems now. And also, I did write a lot of poems, and I've been writing stories since high school. And one of the things I learned about writing is, and any, media like that, is it was created to be analyzed. Like leaving book reviews is not, it's not new. Probably on the broader scale of the internet, yes, but leaving reviews of book is not something that's new. And so I believe that as book talk grows, reviews have been reduced down to yes, no, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I will see reviews and they'll be, let me tell you how much I like this book. You need yes, no, or maybe. And I'm like, you liking the book hasn't told me anything about the book. You're not talking about morals. You're not talking about plot. You're not talking about theme. I haven't learned anything from your yes, no, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I just believe that that's what we're saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do we know that these books are good? Like, you telling me yes doesn't mean the book is good. And you telling me no doesn't mean the book is bad. And you telling me maybe, I haven't learned shit. And no, this is not me or anyone calling readers stupid because I'm a reader and I'm not like the sharpest tool in the shed, especially since my car crash, but I'm not dull, if you know what I'm saying. I could screw up a few stuff or something, I guess. And while my light might be a little dim, I'm also not a really dull bulb. Something goes off in my brain. I was able to write this somewhat script for this video, so I think that I'm somewhat competent. Probably not like I'm not a scholar. I didn't went to college for this stuff, but no one's calling you dumb because I'm a reader. It would be stupid of me to call other readers stupid when I fall into that category. All I'm saying is that as readers, we've just stopped asking more of the stories that we consume. And there's more to books than tropes and trauma used as plot. And don't even get me started on the entire issue of miscommunication. I've read so many books that, especially romance, it's one of the reasons now why I stay away from romance, where half the book could have been finished 200 page in like 200 pages had there not been that much communication, because that miscommunication has taken the book into 300-400 pages. And there's no way now in 2026 I'm going to sit down and read a 200-400 page book that half of that book is miscommunication. You know what I'm saying? And on the matter of romance, it's just the way how spice has been substituted as tension. It's like spice is not yearning. You know what I'm saying? Yearning is yearning. Like there's this person who said on TikTok, we need to bring back yearning. And I'm like some of the romance books that I've loved reading, it's yearning. That you're walking past each other and you want to touch her, or he wants to touch her, she wants to touch him, but they don't touch, and you can like feel that. And you're not there, but you can feel it. I mean, that has been replaced with spice. And I don't read a lot of spicy books. And when I do read spicy books, it's never for the spice. You get what I'm saying? I read books for storylines and plots and trying to learn about these characters who are not real people, but while I'm reading about them, they're real people to me. So I'm sure if you're right here in the video, you might be asking, Anna, what has sparked this conversation? And that I'll say it is this video right here.
I do not trust you little bitches on BookTok and your stupid Kindle Unlimited book recommendations talking about this is 5 stars, this is one of the best books I've ever read. Meanwhile, when I was 12 years old, I was reading One Direction fan fiction written by someone whose first language was not English on Wattpad, and it was still better written than half of the shit I'm seeing pushed out on BookTok. I'm gonna be the bitch and say it. Some of you need to go back to a high school level literature class because the lack of reading comprehension that I am seeing is scary. Talking about Guild or whatever the fuck it's called is a literary masterpiece. Almost as if when authors are using actual literary devices and, I don't know, nuance, not spelling things out for us like we're first graders, that I see a lot of the sentiment on social media being, it was too confusing and too convoluted. Critical thinking, babes. Learn how to do it. I love a little fun romantasy vibe as much as the next girl. Like, romantasy is one of my favorite genres. However, that does not mean that it has to be poorly written. And I'm just gonna say it, not everyone should have their book published. Sorry, I'm a bitch.
Well, I do want to start off by saying she's quite beautiful. And I do think that this is a little bit of a rage bait, but I can't say I disagree. But at the same time, I haven't read a lot of hyped up BookTok books. The only book I can say that for sure I've read that has been hyped up on BookTok is Fort Wing and the second book, whatever the second book is. Because and had there not been dragons in these books, I would not have read them. But I can say I have bought a lot of books that are hyped up on BookTok. I have not gotten to a lot of them because I don't like reading things in season. Just like I don't like reading closing season. I don't like doing what everyone else is doing, basically what I'm saying. So I haven't read a lot of these books, so I can't really fully say that a lot of the books that are being hyped up on BookTok are shit or not. But in terms of like Fort Wing, I gave Fort Wing a 5 star. I gave Iron Flame a 5 star as well. But that was like I think I read them in 2024. If I was to go back now and reread it, I know it would be like a 3 star. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when you read these books, if you were like to think, because when I think hard about the books, the only thing I remember about those two books are the dragons. Like, I can't remember anything about Zayden or Violet. I don't remember half the shit that happened, but you ask me anything about those dragons, I can tell you. And I'm gonna leave that at that. But like I say, if you do want me to read these books and try to give like my take, like this video. So, why do certain books go viral on TikTok? And I could tell you a bunch of shit, but I'm gonna just say it's these tropes. Like one of the biggest things I'll see is people recommend book based on tropes. If you're looking for enemies to lover, read this. And one of the reasons why I also wanted to read Fort Wing was because it was marketed to me as an enemies to lovers. But to me, they were never enemies. And the reason why I say this is if my if my mom hates someone, doesn't necessarily mean that I should hate that person too. And that's kind of what happened in Fort Wing. They were never really enemies. Like Zayden hated Violet, but it was never because she did something to him, more like because her mother did something to him. I never really saw Violet and Zayden as enemies. To me, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to read Fort Wings. I was like, but then I stayed for the dragons. That's what I'm saying. Like, these books are being marketed to us because of the tropes. When it's not the tropes, it's because of the spice. Like, I've heard, like, there's a whole section, and then if you read smart, you are a reader. I'm not trying to say that you reading smart doesn't mean that you're a reader, but half the time books are being reduced to being good based on the tropes, or they're being reduced to being good based on whether or not they have spice. And I don't want to feed into the spice, no spice hate. So I'm just going to leave that at that. All right. So when we're not talking about, there's also a host of people who like to do the touch her and die. I think that is mostly in dark romance. I don't read dark romance, or it's the morally gray men. I have no idea what morally gray men is. I could look it up, but I don't like. I'm one of those people. I'll read a book for based on its cover, and if you want to judge me, you can judge me. I'll see a book, I'll like the cover, I'll read it. I've been reading since for as long as I can remember, and half the books I used to read in high school, I was not into. Like, if you've been reading in high school, like, and I'm talking way before TikTok. TikTok wasn't the thing when I was in high school, so we're just reading books. And that's all I'm saying. I didn't care. Like, I loved a good enemies to lovers since then. I also love the boss employee trope. That's one of my favorite. Me before you. I love that. 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, I eat that up every single time. So I'm not saying any of these things are bad. The problem I have is TikTok is made for short form content, and it makes it impossible for anyone to give you like a detail of a book. Like, I'm talking prose, pacing, structure. How do you get that in 30 seconds? And if you've known anybody who can do that, leave their name down below. Like, I've seen book reviews on TikTok. I've never seen anybody able to do that. Unless you're talking about yes, no, maybe. And if you count those as reviews, peace to you. Now, anyone who has read a book for more than just the hype that's surrounding it, it's impractical to recommend books that focus on writing quality, character consistency, or growth, plot logic, or, you know, plot holes, even basic narrative payoff in just 30 seconds. Like, if you're looking for an in-depth book review, no less than 5 minutes. If you want a book review that's going to be like, okay, I don't think you can do that in less than 5 minutes. That's all I'm saying. Like, and it's rare when you do find like a review that's more than 5 minutes on TikTok. It's more whether or not they can relate to the characters. And what I find is, and I don't want to make this about race, is what I find is a lot of time, if the character is somehow black, a lot of white readers will find it hard to relate. And half the time, I saw Shelly mention this. I think it's book chat with Shelly. I saw her mention this and I was like, I've noticed that too. I've just never really mentioned it because I don't, it's, race is a little touchy and I don't really like talking about race. I have social anxiety and I could do without the backlash, to be honest. But like, a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, I couldn't connect with the book because I didn't relate." And I'm like, you can relate to you're 30 and you can relate to an 18-year-old who lives in a world with dragons, but you're not able to connect to a black character. One of the funniest thing though is when I read, I don't see skin color. Like, I'd rather I like books where it's not focused on like skin colors a lot. And that's one of the reasons I'm currently reading Shutter Island, and it like calls the people like the author or whomever is narrating will call the characters whites or Negroes. And as a black person, it kind of aches me when I see the word Negro in book, especially if it's not being used as a racial slur. Because if it's being used as a racial slur, I could see that, okay, that makes sense. But to just willy-nilly call someone a white or Negro, I don't really see the context of that. And it kind of makes me a little uncomfortable, but I don't think the author is trying to do it in a, I don't know what way the author is trying to do it, but I kind of like the book. And despite that, you see what I'm saying? I could tell you that right now that the writing, the way how that is written, it makes me uncomfortable, and it's one of the things that I don't like about the book. But at the same time, it doesn't deteriorates from the plot. That's what I'm saying. Like when I say I want in-depth reviews, that's what I'm talking about. Tell me what parts of the book that makes you uncomfortable. It can't just be about tropes or whatever. So instead of like these in-depth reviews that, talks about the book, all I see on TikTok these days is how fast the book makes you cry. Like, I'm a big crier. I haven't really, me before you made me cry. It was really sad. I cried when I read Divine Rebel. It's like one of my favorite book of all time. So, like, and I could thank TikTok for that. But at the time that I got my hands on Divine Rebel and I was reading it, it wasn't like that popular. Like, Fort Wing was still like way way popular than Divine Rivals. And I read Divine Rivals and I loved it. I loved it. One of my favorite books of all time, and I do plan to reread it this year. But these reviews are focused more on like the love interest or how unhinged a particular scene felt, especially out of context. And that's what Madison was trying to say. You know, if everything isn't spelled out in these books, readers are not like liking the books. And you can say whatever you want. Like I have the reason why I haven't really mentioned a lot about her video, Madison's video, is I haven't read a lot of the books that are mentioned on TikTok, but I've been on BookTok long enough to know exactly the type of reader she's talking about. It's those people who like are always recommending the same book and they'll be like, oh, best book I've ever read. That's it. And you'll go on like their Goodreads. You see, that's a part that also gets to me. Like if you're leaving these little reviews on TikTok and then you're leaving like a more in-depth review on Goodreads on these books, I could say, okay, she's probably trying to or he's trying to feed into the algorithm, but they're leaving reviews on Goodreads that make sense. Half of them are not, and I'm guilty of this. I'll go on Goodreads and say this book is good. But at the same time, I'm not like that big in the book talk community where like right now, no one cares about my little review. That's probably one of the reasons why I haven't really put in much effort. But let me tell you, if it's a 5 star, I'll say this book was good. But if it's a book that really, really irks me, I be typing. I'm a keyboard warrior. So I'm saying like, like, and that's one of the things I want to do this year. I want to make more more for a review contribution to the book talk world. I know no one really knows me and I'm probably nobody, but for whomever's going to read my review, because I've left reviews on Goodreads that, people go and they like. So I know that someone's reading them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so I have gone so off script from my notes. But I'm gonna try to reel it back in because I don't want to like there's some really key points I'm trying to make. And so one of them is here's the problem. An emotional reaction doesn't automatically means good writing. A book can make you feel something and still be poorly constructed, repetitive, and lack depth. I'm so sick of books being marketed based on vibe, how relatable the characters are, and not the stories or their underlying themes or even the moral of the stories. And if you believe me, and if you believe in media literacy, I'm sure you are too. I'm just saying that like a lot of times these books are being marketed based on how well or how comfortable you are. Like sometimes books, when you read books, you are supposed to be uncomfortable. Take Divergence, for example. Take what's a popular one? Songbird. Oh, it's the one with what's her name? What's her name? Mocking. I'm gonna put up the books. I just can't remember their name. Like take Kite Runner, take Maze Runner. There's some books that take The Handmaid's Tale. There's some books that you're not supposed to be vibing with them. You're not supposed to be able to relate to the characters. There's some books that are supposed to like bring out this rage in you, that make you want to go out and fight for something. You know what I'm saying? There's so many books about like slavery and stuff that they're not books that you should be vibing with. They're not something supposed to make you comfortable. They're books that their sole purpose is for you to learn stuff. I remember when I was in high school, one of the things we had to do when we read anything is we had to pick a theme and write about it, and we had to pick like a moral. You guys know what moral is, right? Moral is like a lesson you learn from the story. Like half of these books that's what Madison meant when she says you guys are illiterate. Half of these books that you're reading, if I was to say what's the moral of the story, you couldn't tell me. If I was to say what's the underlying theme in the story, you couldn't tell me. Half of you, I don't think half of you know what a theme is. And half of you would end up telling me the tropes. Tropes can be themes, but they're not. You see what I'm saying? If you look it up, they're not the same thing. They're different. But I could go on for days about all of this, but I'm gonna go back to my script because I don't want to make this into a 40-minute video. So I've read books that were good to me, but at the same time, they're not books that I'll be singing praises about. You know what I'm saying? They're not books that I would claim are the best books I've ever read. Or it's okay, to like read a book and the book be good for you and you still know that there's some things. I'm gonna give you an example. Like the Mindfuck series, I read that book, loved it. Didn't have the best writing, a lot of grammatical errors. All five books were 5 stars for me. I I'm not necessarily out there saying, oh, it's the best book I've ever read, because while I loved it, if you're talking about grammar and moral, if you know the story, there's not really much to be learned ethically from those books, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like you can like read a good book, or you can read a book without it being good. And I know that's a bit controversial, but like I say, sometimes reading is just for fun. But if you're gonna be reading and recommending books, I just say that we just need to stop confusing tropes with good storytelling, vibes with depth, and trauma with complexity. There's like you can't say that. It's like the whole set of people who say that books are not political. And I'm like, these are the same people who like they don't know what's the moral of a story. They can't tell the theme of a story. They can't tell the difference between tropes and good storytelling. They don't know that a trope is not the plot. Like, as someone who's writing a book, these are the four things a story needs. We need a character, we need a goal, we need a conflict, and we need like a resolution. Four things. Basic structure. And this is a part of a story here's the thing. Trope involves characters. Sometimes not. Depends on the type of story you're trying to write. Goal, sometimes the trope is involved in the goal. Sometimes the trope is the conflict, and sometimes the trope is the resolution. You see what I'm saying? it is a part of the story. It's not the entire story. There's more to a story than just the trope. And all those people using trauma, like I read a study in drowning. I really did not enjoy it because there's this, I think the artist, like when you're painting and you go flick and you flick some paint on like a canvas, she just splashed in a little essay and I was like, I didn't enjoy it. And there's a bunch of other stuff that the author did that I didn't like about the book. I gave it 2 stars. I would have to go reread it again. Like that book was like, I read it, didn't like it, and I'm like, I didn't follow up the author anymore for books because that was crazy. Another problem that I kind of notice is I believe that parasocial relationships are also destroying the book world because it's okay for you to admit that you like a book and still give it constructive criticism. But I believe that the reading community deems it compulsory that liking a book equal that is good. And I think a lot of times this has to do with these parasocial relationships that readers have with authors. Like, I don't know if you guys are afraid to give an author that you have previously liked a 2 star. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Because like I said, I've liked books because it had the enemies to lovers trope. It's one of my favorite tropes. I've liked Book for the Spies. I still don't know what Morally Gray Men is, but I'm guessing I probably read a book, Morally Gray Men, that I like. And I can still admit that it didn't do any of these things well. Because sometimes I'm not reading a book because it's a good book. Sometimes I'm reading a book for the sake of reading a book. And if you're reading books for the sake of reading a book, then just say so. But you can't be reading books for the sake of reading books and then out here saying the praises for these books despite knowing that some of them should have never made it to the light of day. Like Madison said, some of these books should not be published. Like some of these books should like be thrown in an active volcano and poof, ashes. I might not say a lot of this well, and I might be going off script a lot because, I do talk a lot and I'm not really good at reading scripts and I'm still kind of recovering from my car crash. So sometimes something pops into my brain. I think I just have to say it or I'm going to forget it. And so I do hope that I'm at least getting a few points true or at least connecting to one person because if not, all of this would have been for naught. I just don't want anyone to think I'm blaming them because if I'm being honest, TikTok algorithm is also part of the problem because with all these little 30-second book reviews, getting pushed out and then people trying to get popular in TikTok also making their own 30-second videos. And so TikTok thinks that people wants to see these videos and they keep pushing the same videos over and over. And so we're in this constant cycle of 30 seconds book reviews that TikTok thinks everyone wants, and then just the constant cycle. And so, yes, you can say that we the people, we the readers are the algorithm, but the algorithm is the algorithm. We just feed the algorithm because we think that's what the algorithm wants, and the algorithm thinks that that's what we want, and so we're in this constant cycle of these shit ass book reviews. And as a part of the book community, I I want to be part of the solution and not only to focus on the problem. And I know at some point I've already mentioned the type of reviews that I'd like to see, but I just think that it's good for me to reiterate, the reviews that I want to see. So instead of saying you dislike a book or you like a book, let us know why you disliked the book or why you liked the book. Because one of the things that I don't do as a Black person, I don't read books by racist authors. And what I mean is, if I see that you have this need to constantly put down or kind of like subtle shame Black characters in your book, I'm not going to support your book. And half the time, I probably read your book not knowing this, but if someone was making a review and they say, hey, I didn't like the way such author wrote about this Black character or something, then I'll go do my own due diligence. And if I've noticed that enough people have left a review about this, I'm definitely not going to read said book. You see what I'm saying? How we all contribute. These reviews are not just your opinion, but it also, help other readers who are trying to, possibly read these books. In in reviews, I would like to also see more about themes and morals and less about the tropes. Like, listen, the book is already marketed based on the trope, so when you're leaving your review, you don't need to reiterate the trope. That's it's already being marketed for that. So you saying, "Hey, it was enemies to lover." Again, in your review, it kind of is kind of redundant because it was already marketed as that. So anyone looking up this book already knows it's an enemy to lover. So when you're leaving your review and you're putting it's an enemy to lover, you're not adding anything. The marketing team already did that. I want to hear about flaws and how you think the author could have, done this better or done that better, or, you know, how the author could have not done this or could have did this or something along that line. At the same time, I want like you to be like, leave your criticism of the book. Bear in mind that the author is a real person, so I don't read a lot of reviews that bash authors because as someone who's working on a book for myself, I'd hate to write a book and people are out there bashing me. Sometimes we need to separate the art from the artist unless the artist has imprinted themselves on the art. Do you get what I'm saying? Also, what would help is if you tell us a little bit more about your rating system. How are you rating these books? Like, what's your definition of a 5 star? What's your definition of a 4 star, 3 star, 2 star, 1 star? And if you are giving these books 6 stars, why? What makes a book deserves a 6 star? You see what I'm saying? Like, you're leaving these reviews and we have no clue what you're basing your rating on. And someone might say that it's none of our business, but it is. When you put it out there online and you're leaving reviews hoping to suck up other readers in, or you're sharing your favorite book and you want more readers to join you, it is our business. So we need to know what system you're using to make these reviews. At the end of the day, I don't think BookTok is lowering the quality of book. It's more like lowering the bar for how we talk about these books because when you're not able to go online and leave a simple review or leave feedback without everyone saying that, oh, we'll saying a bunch of shit about you. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just a reader problem, it's also an algorithm problem because it's like what Madison did, the whole way. Had she gone online like me and been calm about her review, enough people probably wouldn't have cared as much or wouldn't have been pushed out as much. But she started off with this rage bait, kind of like a hook you. She grabbed you in and then she laid it on. And I'm wondering if that's what I need to start doing too. Anyways, with that being said, we're at the end of the video. So keep devouring those books, you beautiful bookworm. And I hope you have a wonderful year, month, week, day, hour, minute, second. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, lovelies.